Hello, beautiful people of the interwebs. This is Camille Talicia, Goddess Cami, the Intentional Goddess. Welcome back for session 2 of the Law of One, book 1. I'm If you don't know what we're talking about, if you don't know what this video is about, what the Law of One is, I encourage you to go back and watch the first video of this new series, the only series right on my channel at the moment. Excuse me. In which I'm reading from the Law of One. I'm just reading the Law of One, really, and then having a little bit of a discussion afterwards, just pointing out some of the things that stand out to me, some of the concepts, helping create some sort of clarity and understanding, because I know the very first time that I read this book, I was like, not only was my mind like blown wide open, but I was like, what the hell am I reading? Excuse me. What the heck am I reading? I don't know if you can curse on this thing. So, yeah, so hopefully as we go through, I can help explain some things. And I'm curious if, after today's reading, comment below if you would find it helpful for me to explain a couple of things in the moment during the reading, like pause the reading and explain something versus waiting to explain it at the end. If you would find that to be more helpful with your understanding. So you go through, just listen through today. I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to read through session 2 and then we'll talk about it afterwards. But if you think that you would find a pausing, like a explanatory comma sort of thing helpful, let me know. But without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, no, not without further ado. If you are not already, please go ahead and subscribe and like this video and turn on the notification bell for when the next one of the series comes out, because we're going to be reading through this, because I feel like this is a part of my teach, learn, teach mission. I got to do that the other way. So anyways, that's that. Join the family as we go through the Law of One and learn how to be one, because trust me, we need it right now in America. Law of One, Book 1, Session 2, January 20th, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and the light of our infinite creator. I am with this mind-body-spirit complex which has offered itself for a channel. I communicate with you. Mind-body-spirit complex is Carla. Okay. Queries are in order in your projections of mind distortion at this time-space. Thusly, would I assure this group that my own social memory complex has one particular method of communicating with those few who may be able to harmonize their distortions with ours, and that is to respond to queries for information. We are comfortable with this format. May the queries now begin. Questioner, I'm guessing that there are enough people who would understand what you are saying, who would be interested enough in it for us to make a book of your communications, and I wondered if you would agree to this. If so, I was thinking that possibly a bit of historical background of yourself might be in order. I am Ra. The possibility of communication, as you would call it, from the one to the one through distortion, acceptable for meaning, is the reason we contacted this group. There are few who will grasp without significant distortion that which we communicate through this connection with this mind-body-spirit complex. However, if it be your desire to share our communications with others...
Beautiful Goddess Cami, it's 11...
However, if it be your desire to share our communications with others, we have the distortion towards a perception that this would be most helpful in regularizing and crystallizing your own patterns of vibration upon the levels of experience which you call the life. If one is illuminated, are not all illuminated? Therefore, we are oriented towards speaking for you in whatever supply of speakingness you may desire. To teach, learn is the law of one in one of its most elementary distortions. Questioner, could you tell us something of your historical background and your contact with earlier races on this planet? Then we would have something to start with. Ra, I am Ra. We are aware that your mind-body is calculating the proper method of performing the task of creating a teach-learning instrument. We are aware that you find your incarnate, as you call it, state of interest. We are aware that you find our incarnate, as you call it, state of interest. We waited for a second query so as to emphasize that the time space of several thousand of your years creates a spurious type of interest. Thus, in giving this information, we ask the proper lack of stress be placed upon our experiences in your local space-time. The teach learning, which is our responsibility, is philosophical rather than historical. We shall proceed with your request, which is harmless if properly evaluated. We are those of the Confederation who 11,000 of your years ago came to two of your planetary cultures, which were at the time closely in touch with the creation of the one creator. It was our naive belief that we could teach learn by direct contact and that the free will distortions of individual feeling or personality were in no danger. We had no thought of their being disturbed, as these cultures were already closely aligned with an all-embracing belief in the liveness or consciousness of all. We came and were welcomed by the peoples whom we wished to serve. We attempted to aid them in technical ways having to do with the healing of mind-body-spirit complex distortions through the use of the crystal, appropriate to the distortion, placed within a certain appropriate series of ratios of time-space material. Thus were the pyramids created. Did you catch that? We found that the technology was reserved largely for those with the effectual mind-body distortion of power. This was not intended by the law of one. We left your peoples. The group that was to work with those in the area of South America, as you call that portion of your sphere, gave up not so easily. They returned. We did not. However, we have never left your vibration due to our responsibility for the changes in consciousness we had first caused and then found distorted in ways not relegated to the law of one. We attempted to contact the rulers of the land to which we had come, the land which you call Egypt, or in some areas, the Holy Land. In the 18th dynasty, as it is known in your records of space-time distortions, we were able to contact a pharaoh, as you would call him. The man was small in life experience on your plane and was what this instrument would call wanderer. Thus, this mind-body-spirit complex received our communication distortions and was able to blend his distortions with our own. This young entity had been given a vibratory complex of sound which vibrated in honor of a prosperous god, as this mind-body complex, which we call instrument for convenience, would call Amon. The entity decided that this name, being in honor of one among many gods, was not acceptable for inclusion in his vibratory sound complex. Thus, he changed his name to one which honored the sun disk. This distortion, called Aten, was a close distortion to our reality as we understand our own nature of mind-body-spirit complex distortion. However, it does not come totally into alignment with the intended teach-learning which was sent. This entity, Inknaton, became convinced that the vibration of one was the true spiritual vibration and thus decreed the law of one. However, this entity's beliefs were accepted by very few. His priests gave lip service only, with the spiritual distortion towards seeking. The peoples continued in their beliefs. When this entity was no longer in this density, again the polarized beliefs in the many gods came into their own and continued so until the one known as Muhammad delivered the peoples into a more intelligible distortion of mind-body-spirit relationships. Do you have a more detailed interest at this time? Questioner: we are very interested in the entire story that you have to tell and getting into the law of one in quite some detail. There will be several questions that I'll ask as we go along that may or may not be related directly to understanding the law of one. However, I believe that the proper way of presenting this as a teach-learning vehicle is to investigate different facets of what you tell us. You spoke of crystal healing. One other thing I want to mention is that when the instrument becomes fatigued, we want to cut off communication and continue questions at a later time when the instrument is recharged. If the instrument is suitable at this time, we would like a little information about the crystal healing that you mentioned. Ra, I am Ra. The principle of crystal healing is based upon an understanding of the hierarchical nature of the structure of the illusion, which is the physical body, as you would call it. There are crystals which work upon the energies coming into the spiritual body. There are crystals which work upon the distortions from spirit to mind. There are crystals which balance the distortions between the mind and the body. All of these crystal healings are charged through purified channels. Without the relative crystallization of the healer working with the crystal will not be properly charged. The other ingredient is the proper alignment with the energy fields of the planet upon which you dwell and the holistic or cosmic distortions or streamings which enter the planetary aura in such a manner that an appropriate ratio of shapes and placement within these shapes is of indicated aid in the untangling or unbalancing process. To go through the various crystals to be used would be exhaustive to this instrument, although you may ask us if you wish in another session. The delicacy, shall we say, of the choosing of the crystal is very critical, and in truth, a crystalline structure such as a diamond or ruby can be used by a purified channel who is filled with the love light of one in almost any application. This, of course, takes initiation, and there have never been many to persevere to the extent of progressing through the various distortion leavings which initiation causes. May we further inform you in any fairly brief way upon this or another subject? Questioner: Yes. You mentioned that the pyramids were an outgrowth of this. Could you expand a little on that? Were you responsible for the building of the pyramid, and what was the purpose of the pyramid? Ra, I am Ra. The larger pyramids were built by our ability, using the forces of one. The stones are alive. It has not been so understood by the mind-body-spirit distortions of your culture. The purposes of the pyramids were two. Firstly, to have a properly oriented place of initiation for those who wish to become purified or initiated channels for the law of one. 2. We wished then to carefully guide the initiates in developing a healing of the people whom they sought to aid and of the planet itself. Pyramid after pyramid charged by the crystal and initiate were designed to balance the incoming energy of the one creation with the many and multiple distortions of the planetary mind, body, spirit. In this effort, we were able to continue work that brothers within the Confederation had effected through building of other crystal-bearing structures, and thus complete a ring, if you will, of these about the Earth's, as this instrument would have us vibrated, surface. This instrument begins to lose energy. We ask for one more query or subject, and then we shall take our leave for this time space. You might mention... questioner. You might mention that originally there was a capstone on the pyramid at the top. What was it made of, and how you moved the heavy... Okay. What was it made of, and how you moved the heavy blocks to build the pyramid? What technique was used for that? Question. Excuse me. Sorry, y'all. Ra, I am Ra. I request that we be asked this question in our next work time, as you would term the distortion sharing that our energies produce. If you have any questions about the proper use of this mind, body, spirit, we would appreciate your asking them now. Consider them asked. Questioner, consider them asked. I don't have anything to go on. What is the proper use of this instrument? What should we do? What should we do to maximize her ability and her comfort? Ra, I am Ra. We are pleased that you have asked this question, for it is not our understanding that we have the right/duty to share our perceptions on any subject but philosophy without direct question. However, this mind, body, spirit is not being correctly used and therefore is experiencing unnecessary distortions of body in the area of fatigue. The vibrations may well be purified by a simple turning to the circle of one and the verbal vibration while doing so of the following dialogue. Question, what is the law? Answer, the law is one. Question, why are we here? Answer, we seek the law of one. Question, why do we seek Ra? Answer, Ra is an humble messenger of the law of one. Both together, rejoice then and purify this place in the law of one. Let no thought form enter the circle we have walked about this instrument, for the law is one. The instrument at this time should be in trance. The proper alignment is the head pointed 20 degrees north by northeast. This is the direction from which the newer or new age distortions of love light, which are less distorted, are emanating, and this instrument will find comfort therein. This is a sensitive instrument, by which we mean the distortions which enter her mind-body-spirit complex come from any of her senses. Thus, it is well to do the following. Place at the entity's head a virgin chalice of water. To the center, the book most closely aligned with the instrument's mental distortions, which are allied most closely with the law of one, that being the Bible that she touches most frequently. To the other side of the Bible, a small amount of scents or incense in a virgin censer. To the rear of the book, symbolizing one, open to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, a white candle. The instrument would be strengthened by the wearing of a white robe. The instrument shall be covered and prone, the eyes covered. We feel that, though this is a complex of activity circumstance and may seem very distorted from a purposeful teach-learning experience, these elaborations on the technique of trance will ease the mind distortions of those about the instrument as they perceive improvement in the instrument's distortions with regard to fatigue. We add only that if these teach learning sessions are held during time space during which your sun body does not light your room, that it is best to call the instrument before the lighting of the illuminatory mechanism. I am Ra. I leave you in the glory and the peace of the one Creator. Rejoice in the love light and go forth in the power of the one Creator. In joy we leave you. Adonai. Whew, session 2. So that was interesting. A little bit of a history lesson, right? So Ra, like we said from last video, was all up in the Egyptian situation for a second. In the 18th dynasty, and honestly, I would love to look more into this, or if you are very familiar with Egyptian history and culture, ancient Egyptian culture, history. Ancient Egyptian history, and you know more about this pharaoh, which it sounds like changed his name 3 times because he was Amon, which he didn't like because it was too close to the name of God, I believe, and then Aten, and then he came into total alignment by calling himself Inknaton. So interesting. But again, you see that the teachings, well, it sounds like this time with him, the teachings were kind of ignored. Like they kind of were just like, yeah, okay, cool. Once you're gone, we'll do what we want to do. And they went back into the priests, mind you, their polytheistic, what is the word I'm looking for? Not religion, belief. There we go. The polytheistic belief system with the multiple gods, which in theory, is not necessarily against the law of one because we're all parts of the creator. But if there is one creator, then really there only needs to be one. And so they're saying that Muhammad then came in and delivered the people into a more intelligible distortion, which is interesting. And I believe, wasn't Muhammad Islam? So that's interesting. And so that was Egypt, and that's Ra's history. Ra also is basically saying that they helped or actually just built the pyramids in Egypt. Also, I would make note, and I don't know when this comes up again, but they were also saying that the pyramids, like in South America, I think it was the Mayans that had pyramids, or the Aztecs, they were smaller pyramids, but those were also created for the same reason. And I would love to see like a picture of the earth where the pyramids are located, because essentially at that time they were meant to make a ring to tap into the earth's energies. And from my understanding from like other videos, the pyramids are not necessarily as energetically powerful as they were 11,000 years ago, because number one, Earth has already shifted into 4th density in 2012. We'll get into that. Number two, Earth has moved. The Earth has moved since then and shifted locations and angles and all of that. And so that's interesting. But the pyramids were actually healing centers. Like I feel like there's a lot of talk about pyramids being where people were buried, like the pharaohs and what was the lady pharaoh? I don't remember what they're called. Where the pharaohs were buried, but no, they were actually places for healing and for initiation. And I really think that it's so interesting, this concept of becoming a crystalline being, in that you are initiated and activated to be able to provide healing for other people's bodies, and you know, you don't actually do the healing, you just support them in healing themselves. That's what every healer will say. um and then we have the crystals, and they specifically mentioned diamond and rubies, but you know, we have many more crystals now, that we are more aware of, and that they each have different things that they can do. They said crystals which work on the energies coming into the spiritual body, crystals that work on the distortion from spirit to mind, crystals that work on the distortion from mind to body, and then the various channels as well. And so it really speaks to the fact, like, I think now crystals are becoming more mainstream, so a little bit fashionable, but a little bit more mainstream. People are understanding that there is some sort of like energy to these stones. I think that people forget about like the precious stones, because the fact that diamond and ruby were the ones that were mentioned, and we mostly look at diamonds now as this, it's really just for adornment and accessorizing, but there is healing power inside of those diamonds as well, which would be very good to tap into, I think, for people to start really understanding what is possible and available to them with the diamonds. Because I believe that even if you aren't fully initiated and activated, like the energy that the earth has given, the earth, the creator, has given these minerals and these crystals is still beneficial, right? So if you have any diamonds, go ahead and give them a little blessing. Speak some love into them, like we did our water last week. Yes, I'm recording this right after I recorded that last one, so that's why I'm still in the same outfit and still have the same bottle of water. But I think you could tell that. Okay, so we talked about the pyramids. Super interesting. Also, note, pyramids were built by working with the rocks. They didn't pick up the rocks. There wasn't any like levee system or some pulleys and ramps like they like to show in the movies. Basically, what Ra is saying is that when they came, because of their higher density level, they are able to really understand the full oneness of everything, all the way down to the elements. Everything is a part of everything, right? And so in understanding what they called the liveness of everything, including the stone, they were able to talk with the stone. It's still a little bit beyond me, like what they were saying to the stone. Did they levitate the stone? Like, how were they exactly working with the stone to get the stone to move and shift in these places? But the fact of the matter is like, we don't even have the technology today in 2020 to create pyramids like that, to lift up stone that heavy, that large, that high. And so what other explanation could there really be, other than they connected with these stones and really asked them to get into these formations to support the people in third density, the mind body spirit complexes in third density, and ultimately to support planet Earth. And well, we'll get into all of that, who all it supports. But again, remember, we're all part of one big thing. We're all one part. We still haven't even really gotten into that. Okay, so that was that. The pyramids, got the capstone, all of that. The instrument. Now, that was interesting. They do have some pictures of her setup, and so I'm gonna show those and see just what it looks like. I might have to do some screen grabs, so I'm gonna try to show them on video first, just for now. The proper alignment with the head pointed 20 degrees north by northeast, something to consider in your own meditations. I think, I also wanted to talk about just the power of the pyramids, and it will come up more, but I was reading something where they were talking about how we can still utilize pyramids without going inside the ones in Egypt. And they were talking about how a lot of people now have those metal, like the metal pole, I think they might be copper pole pyramids that they make that you can sit under, because there's something about that pyramid shape and the fact that it's like centering the energy here, that is still helpful. And so if the pyramid concept, like, excuse me, caught your attention, resonated with you, whatever the case may be, I would encourage you to look into it. I'm actually thinking about looking at one. Let's call them a pyramid cage. That you can use to meditate, and like maybe put like a stone here, and just help kind of with the energy, with the healing, with activating, becoming crystalline, initiating yourself. So there's that. The other thing, just a random thing of note, where they were talking about the text most closely aligned with the law of one, and they call that the Bible for her, because I believe she was a Christian. And so I'm thinking, like, if she was Muslim, maybe it would have been the Quran. If she was crap, what are the names of those other books? I'm totally blanking right now. But like Buddhism, they have their book. Yeah, I can't remember the names. The Jewish people have the Torah. So do they have copies of the Torah? Yeah. So, that was kind of cool. It's like whatever is most closely aligned with the law of one. And then specifically the Gospel of John, chapter 1. So if that's something that you're considering taking a gander at, that could be interesting to research as well, to figure out why they chose that one. And then there was a phrase that they used that I wanted to point out, to just touch on. There was the activity circumstance, which I thought was interesting. Oh, the time, space, space, time. I wanted to touch on that because essentially in 3D, time is linear, but in quantum reality, beyond our density, our experience in this lifetime, time is, I don't know if quantum is the correct word, but time and space are more like places on a board. Or there's a movie, it's like that Mars movie where he, like, all these different things were happening and they were on a wall, and he could see all these different periods in time and these circumstances and events, and he could just like go to that shelf and open it up and look and see. And then I think he tried to like jump through and go to that time. I think that's that same movie. So yeah, it's that concept. And so I think time, space is more so when they're talking about the actual, like, time of day or this week or this period of time. And then space time, where did they use that so I can give you the right context? I might have to circle back to give you that, but just listen out for it in the next one, in the next session. So yeah, that's that, guys. I'm trying to make these shorter, but look, we're still at 27 minutes, so we're still kind of in this 30-minute mark per session. It's gonna be a while. All right, so that's that. This is The Law of One, Book 1, Session 2. We're complete. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I am recording these first few videos like basically at the same time, same shirt, same all of that. So your questions will probably have to get answered in a future video after I see them in the comments, but or I'll just type and answer them right there. Again, if you're not already a friend, subscribe, like this video so other people can find it, turn on your notifications so you can know when the next one will be out. If you want to connect with me on social media, The Intentional Goddess. Okay, my camera's over here on my phone. I keep looking over here at myself. Forgive me. All right, bye guys. Love, light, and shine.